If you think we're on the run, we are the boys who will stop your little game. We are the boys who will make you think again. 'Cause who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, if you think old England's done? Mr. Brown goes off to town on the A21, but he comes home each evening and he's ready with his gun. So who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, if you think old England's done?
Henry, Gordon, and James were feeling miserable. They have been shut up for several days for being naughty and longed to be let out again. At long last, Sir Topham had arrived to see the three engines. "I hope you are sorry," he said sternly, "and understand that you are not so important after all. Thomas, Edward, and our new tank engine Percy have worked the main line nicely. They need a chance. And I will let you out if you promise to be good." "Yes, sir," said Gordon. "We will, sir," added James. "That's right. From now on, please remember that this no shunting nonsense must stop." "Oh, yes, sir," finished Henry. He then told Percy, Edward, and Thomas that they could all play on the branch line for a few days. They ran off happily and found Annie and Clarabelle at Knapford Station. The two coaches were so pleased to see Thomas again. Meanwhile, Edward and Percy were playing with trucks. "Stop! Stop! Stop!" screamed the trucks as they were pushed into their proper sidings. But the two engines all laughed and continued shunting until the trucks were tidily arranged. Thomas took Annie and Clarabelle for a run along the branch line. Thomas had a wonderful time. It was nice to see all the beautiful sights of his branch line again after he had been working so hard on the main line for the last several days. Later, Edward had to take some empty trucks to the quarry. Percy was left alone. He didn't mind that one bit. He liked watching other trains and being cheeky to the bigger engines. "Hurry up, you old slowpoke!" he called to Henry, and Henry got very cross. However, Percy did work hard too, although he found some of the shunting work very heavy and tiring. The coaches often complained, but Percy tried to take no notice. "Having trouble with the coaches?" called James. "Yes, I am," called Percy. "They're heavy and complain a lot. I'll probably end up on my dome once I finish all the shunting. Now I've got to deliver coal to all these bunkers." "Well, trucks can be troublesome," called James. "But I'm sure someone like you can manage, little one." He then puffed away with his passenger train. Percy felt more cheerful from James's encouragement. Although James was of course joking, Percy didn't really care. He arrived at the coal plant to collect his trucks, and of course, the trucks complained and shouted rude things. "Who's this little green pie?" they shouted. "We want Thomas or Edward!" "They don't know how to deal with us." "Thomas and Edward are far too busy to waste time with the likes of you!" snapped Percy. "Woo! Temper, temper!" giggled the trucks. Percy ignored their teasing and continued to shunt the trucks under the hopper. He still felt tired, but he continued to make his deliveries of coal to all the bunkers. At long last, he delivered his last load and then headed on his way back to the yard. Percy soon arrived at the signal box outside Wellsworth Station. He had to wait for the signalman to set the point so he could get back to the yard. Edward had warned Percy. "Be careful on the main line, Percy! Whistle to tell the signalman that you're there!" But Percy didn't remember to whistle, and the signalman had dozed off at his post, and he didn't even realize Percy was there. Percy waited and waited and waited. The points were still against him, so he couldn't move. At Knapford Station, Gordon was shunting coaches ready for his express train to Vickerstown on the other side of the island. He was annoyed about having to shunt coaches again, but he tried not to get into a temper. "I say, James, Gordon called.
Where's this Percy fellow? Surely he should be shunting our coaches.
I think he's still delivering coal, replied James.
Or taking a plunge.
Laughed Gordon. Once the passengers were all on board, Gordon puffed out of the station and out to the open line.
Goodbye, little James,
called Gordon. As soon as he was out of sight, James then headed on his way with his next passenger train. Meanwhile, Sir Topham Hatt looked out of his window and could see no other engines in sight. "Where in the world is Percy?" he wondered. "He should be here arranging coaches and shunting trucks." Percy was, of course, still stuck outside Weldsworth Station, and the signalman was still dozing. Meanwhile, Gordon was making good time along the main line with the express.
"Hurry, hurry, hurry!"
puffed Gordon. "Trickety-talk, trickety-talk, trickety-talk," said the coaches. He was soon approaching Weldsworth Station. Percy then looked along the main line. He whistled at hard, for Gordon was rushing straight towards him with the express. Groaned Gordon.
"Get out of my way!"
Percy opened his eyes. Gordon had stopped with Percy's buffers just a few inches from his own. But Percy had begun to move. "I won't stay here! I'll run away!" he puffed. He was soon clear of the station, and he was so frightened that he ran right up Gordon's hill without stopping. After that, he was tired, and he wanted to stop, but he couldn't, for he had no driver to shut off steam and apply the brakes. "I want to stop! I want to stop!" he puffed in a tired sort of way. "I know just what you want, little Percy," said the signalman, and he kindly set the points. Percy puffed wearily into a nice empty siding and ended up in a big bank of earth. He was too tired to care where he was. "I want to stop! I want to stop! I have stopped!" he puffed thankfully. "Never mind, Percy," said the workman as they dug him out. "You shall have a drink and some coal, and then you'll feel better." Presently, Gordon arrived.
"Well done, Percy! You started off so quickly that you have stopped a nasty accident."
"I'm sorry I was cheeky to you, Gordon," said Percy. "You were clever to stop." Then Gordon helped pull Percy out from the bank. Percy now works in the yard, coal plant, and quarry. He often takes the mail, and sometimes takes passengers along the branch line. He is still cheeky, being that sort of engine, but he is always most careful when he goes on the main line. Although there was one more incident on the main line involving Gordon and some tar drums. "Oops," said Percy.
"Now look what you have done!"
said Gordon furiously. After that incident, I think Percy has learned his lesson about the main line. Don't you agree?